This is the JTV Caribbean News. I am Sean Rose. 7 days of national mourning were announced in Venezuela after the sad news came about the death of President Hugo Chavez at age 58 after 14 years in power. Chavez had been seriously ill with cancer for more than a year, undergoing several operations in Cuba. The exact nature of his cancer was never officially disclosed, leading to continuing speculation about his health, and he was not seen in public for several months. Vice President Nicolas Maduro has assumed the presidency, and an election is expected to be held within 30 days. Chavez's illness prevented him from taking the oath of office after he was re-elected for a fourth term in October 2012. A socialist and revolutionary, Chavez won enduring support among the poor and repeated election victories by using Venezuela's oil wealth to pursue socialist policies. But his opponents accused him of mishandling the economy and taking the country towards dictatorship. In Tuesday's televised address, a tearful Mr. Maduro said the president had passed away after battling a tough illness for nearly 2 years. Thousands of Chavez supporters took to the streets of Caracas chanting, "We are all Chavez," and "Chavez lives." The government of Cuba and Haiti declared 3 days of national mourning, while other governments across South America and the Caribbean have expressed their own reaction to Chavez's death, hoping that his work will continue. In an official letter delivered to Governor General Sir Edmund Lawrence on Tuesday, 6 members of the 11-member St. Kitts and Nevis Parliament wrote that they no longer support Dr. Denzil Douglas as Prime Minister of the country. The ruling Labour administration now has minority support of only 5 elected members. In the letter, the 6 parliamentarians also made it clear that they support the motion of no confidence that was filed against the government in early December 2012. It was also indicated to the Governor-General that all 6 members intend to vote for the said motion when it is brought to the floor of Parliament. The 6 MPs have therefore called on Dr. Douglas to allow the motion of no confidence to be brought to Parliament. They have also urged Douglas to resign or to advise the Governor-General to dissolve Parliament and call general elections. The 6 parliamentarians signing the letter were Sean K. Richards, Eugene Hamilton, Mark Brantley, Vance Amory, Dr. Timothy Harris, and Sam Condor. Opposition leader in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Arnim Eustace, says his lawyers have written to Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves demanding an apology and compensation for statements he made about him on a recent radio program. Eustace said on his weekly radio program that the sum is $1 more than the 140,000 EC dollars the court ordered Nice Radio to pay Gonsalves for defamation. Eustace's lawyers are also asking Gonsalves to pay 30,000 EC dollars in cost. The legal action stems from comments Prime Minister Gonsalves made while informing citizens about an encounter he had with 2 BBC journalists on an aircraft in Barbados. Prime Minister Gonsalves has said he will not apologize. Nice Radio last month paid Gonsalves 206,000 EC dollars for defamation from a lawsuit he brought against them 10 years ago. There was a semblance of normalcy in St. Lucia on Wednesday following the return of public servants to work following another bout with a mysterious illness. Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony has appealed to public workers to accept his government's 4% wage increase and prevent the island from any further hardship as workers stayed away from their jobs for higher salaries.
We have to take decisions to protect the economy of St. Lucia. This country relies heavily on tourism. And when you're going to disrupt flights into this country because you're pursuing your own agenda, clearly you can't be acting on behalf of the interests of the country at all. So the Governor of St. Lucia will have to assess very carefully the recent experience.
Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony expressing deep concern over the absence of fire and emergency personnel at the George F.L. Charles Airport and other key airport facilities. Air travelers were adversely impacted by a sick-out by public servants in light of the current standoff in the wage talks with the state. As a result of the absence, the Port Authority reclassified the facility in keeping with safety requirements and procedures. During his address to the nation, Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony suggested appointing a 3-member arbitration panel comprising 1 arbitrator appointed by the TUF, a 2nd by the government, and a 3rd, a chairperson, chosen jointly by the agreement of the parties. However, the Trade Union Federation has dismissed the recommendation.
The truth is, I don't know what it is that the unions are afraid of. You see, they say that the government has the ability to pay. They say the government can find the money. And very clearly, if that is the case, that somehow we are speaking untruths or the government is not being frank and open, then if you have arbitration, you could put all the cards on the table and allow the public to judge as well as the arbitrators, because then the process would be open, it would be transparent. They will have a chance to give proof that the government does in fact have the money to pay and can pay what they're demanding.
Dr. Anthony argues arbitration will afford both parties the opportunity to present their arguments.
Some of them seem to believe that somehow if they go to arbitration, it will work against their interests. The truth is, it could, because the arbitrators may well decide that 4% is excessive in the current situation. That's a possibility. But I recall that when we had a very prolonged strike in St. Lucia in 1979, I think it was, the arbitrators ruled in favor of the then workers of St. Lucia, and the public service unions got a hefty increase.
The head of government says St. Lucia faces a crisis and any pay increase will come at a steep cost. He points out St. Lucia already has the highest fiscal deficit in the Caribbean of 10.7% of GDP.
I want to make it absolutely clear that we don't have many options. As I said in my address, even the 4% that the government has expressed a willingness to make available, it will come with costs. There will be a price. The people of St. Lucia will have to bear the burden of that increase. It does mean that the government of St. Lucia will have to look for ways and means to reduce expenditure, and at the same time to look at the whole question of the subsidies that we pay currently.
Despite the arguments put forth by the government, the Trade Union Federation maintains the state has the means to grant public servants the much sought-after pay rise. They have soundly rejected the state's offer of a 4% wage increase and are demanding a 9.5% rise in pay or 6% with conditions. Sarah Peter, HTS News Force.
CARICOM member states have approved a regional energy policy that has established regional targets for the contribution of renewable energy that will guide the 15-member group in the total electricity generation in the Caribbean community. A statement from the CARICOM Secretariat said that approval was given at a special meeting of the CARICOM Council of Trade and Economic Development, COTED, in Trinidad and Tobago over the last weekend. CARICOM ministers with responsibility for energy approved the initial regional targets for the contribution of renewable energy to electricity generation at the national and community levels. Among the initial targets that have been set are 20% in 2017, 28% in 2022, and 47% in 2027 for the contribution of renewable energy to total electricity generation in the community. The energy policy is the linchpin of the region's efforts to increase its energy security, sustainability, and affordability. Renewable energy, natural gas, and energy efficiency will play important roles in this endeavor. Dominica's Energy Minister, Rayburn Blackmore, who chaired the meeting, described the adoption of the policy as historic, bearing in mind this year marks 40 years since the oil crisis. For the JTV Caribbean News, I am Sean Rose.
Coming up next on JTV News. The public encouraged to register for new health information card system. Festival of Arts reaps success with the Culinary Arts Fair. And the fire department benefits from the UK naval ship demonstrations.